As many of you have seen in this course, I am a data advocate. I think data is the great new filter. So we need to look at things through the filter of data. We're going to study data financial vectors, which looks at reinterpreting all of Wall Street's information and valuation data on companies, but through the lens of first-party data. We've also talked about competitive sets and who's your real competitor. My position is that we should look at competitive through the lens of data as well, first-party data specifically. So those are things that I think are important as we go forward. It's the new currency, it's the new gold, it's the new lifeblood. So therefore, we should put it at the forefront of our analysis in order to help with that endeavor, because it also helps with the brainstorming. Whenever we're coming up with what is the different product that we're going to create in the future, or the company or the industry, it helps a lot to think about it from a first-party data point of view, because that changes the entire kind of thought process. Some of my students asked, so what are the areas that generate data in our lives? So I created the Sweet 16 data productivity areas. Just like with college basketball, these Sweet 16 areas are basically the main areas of data productivity. One of them is obviously the home. We're going to talk about that when we talk about the video of how to buy a home in the future. Within the home, there's a hierarchy: the kitchen, probably the number one, the TV room, the bathroom, the bedrooms, then the living rooms, the dining rooms. There's definitely a huge area of opportunity there, and there's a lot of money being invested in terms of creating devices and applications and services that will try to tap into that data. The other big area of productivity is the office. You're generating a lot of data regarding your projects, your project management, the data of things that you're tracking, your schedule, your appointments. All of these things generate data. So a group of people and companies and startups trying to tap into that and manage your workflows and manage your productivity. And that's where the Salesforce.coms and the Mondays and all of those companies come into play. There's also the food. And that breaks up to two groups. The food we consume, and that area is going to be largely tapped into by either the home devices or the personal devices. As obesity explodes around the world, we're going to have to get a handle on this. With the COVID pandemic that happened this year, be able to have a much better control of your health and diagnostics and prevention. And it all starts with the food that you eat. So that's going to be a major area. And that's what, we keep saying, that data will rat you out. Yes, if you don't have good practices, watch out. Greasy restaurants, data apps are coming that are gonna completely rat you out. So food that we consume is one area, but also agriculture. Obviously, we've seen all the headlines. There's big tech is getting into big agra, and it's gonna change. It's gonna change dramatically, and that's not even touching the other huge area in agriculture, which is vertical farming, which is an emerging technology in and of itself. Technology is definitely headed into the fields, just because there's going to be a huge increase in the food supply needed to feed all the people in the world. And so combined with climate change, there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of money pouring into high-tech agriculture filled with sensors and brimming with data. We're also going to have, it actually already has a name. They call it the Internet of Things. It's not just a sensor. It's much more than that. It's a philosophy of decoupling access to something and the actual use of that something. So think about a Zipcar, which is an MIT-born company. You just show up and you want your phone and you want yourself into the car. You don't need the key. And that's why you don't need to have all the cars in a parking lot, in a hotel, or in the airport, because they could just be wherever. You don't need to have somebody giving you physically the keys. That's the technology thing. And being able to authenticate electronically, and you bypass basically everybody. You just show up. That's the technology thinking that Sanjay is talking about with IoT. So obviously that means that all of our product, really all the products, the consumer products, the wearables, like the smart yoga pants, everything, the smart fitness equipment. But I think we have to break it into categories so to make it manageable. Some of it is going to get to the same, but it's going to come from different parts. So one of it is the Internet of Things, which has to do with all the products that we use. The manufacturing, the industrial version, which is all the products that get manufactured that we end up using, is the industrial Internet of Things. All these smart things designed for our personal use on our body, wearable, or that are capturing data, the smart toilets that are capturing, they can do the urine samples and all sorts of samples. All of that is the Internet of Body. So there are going to be components of this that comes in through the home, the smart home kind of data. And the other one that comes into Internet of Bodies. There's also going to be an emerging group called the Internet of Minds, because now that's what we're going to talk about in future of education and the future of e-conscience. That's going to generate a lot of data about what we want to learn, what we want to train on, what we've read, all the books, so all the movies. So that's going to keep track of that data. Just like we are going to start keeping track of what we consume for our body fuel, we're also going to start keeping track of what we consume for our mental fuel.